face tomorrow with confidence. Can I face tomorrow with confidence? Confidence.
Had to get my audio fixed. Welcome to live stream. So welcome to another Mastering AI for Cybersecurity live stream. I'm Clint Bodungeon, your host, and I'll be joining you live on LinkedIn and YouTube, this time on purpose, unlike last week when I accidentally did it, but decided that it's actually a pretty good thing that we're going to be streaming live on all my channels because we've got my book finally going to release at some point next month. I don't know exactly. I'll hear from PACT, but either way, we've got that coming up. We've got the PACT. We've got a lot of conferences coming up. I'll be at S4. I'll be at the PACT virtual conference, speaking on AI and cybersecurity, all that in March. I'll also be at some of the Elevate IT events. So I got a pretty good roadshow lined up. And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody gets a chance to see some of the content that I'm putting out. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so last stream, we were using large language models, in this case, specifically GPT for preview. We were using it to create a cybersecurity policy, at least the first draft. And then we were taking that policy and we were using private GPT to use text embeddings to vectorize the text of both our policy as well as our like a standard. So I think we did NIST 882, and then be able to chat with our policy, chat with the standard, and start having it we can ask questions about whether we're compliant or not to do kind of like an AI driven gap analysis. And so today we're going to continue on with the GRC portion of using large language models for GRC. And I just want to point out a couple things. So last week, we were using the GPT-4 1026, I believe was the model. Let me check on that. Either way, it was the 1106 preview model. And they literally just released the 0125 preview, so that's kind of cool. So we're going to test that out. Either way, this was the code from last week. Let's go ahead and move on to, you know what? I don't have my yellow mouse thing. Hold on real quick. I always forget to do that. All right, this should help. There we go. All right, the bouncing ball. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use the LLM, the large language model, to create a risk assessment process. And the way that we are going to do that is I'll just run through the code first real quick. But so in this case, we are going to be using, and this is the old model, the GPT 3.5 Turbo. So I had all of, in my book, I've listed everything for GPT 3.5 Turbo just because not everybody at the time when I was writing these earlier chapters, not everybody had availability to the GPT-4 models for the in the API. And I wanted to make sure I gave everybody a free option. However, now that's more attainable, we'll be refactoring this code right here. This is the code that's going to be in the GitHub for all the chapters of the book. But we're going to refactor this just like we did last week. But first, let's walk through the code a little bit. So obviously, we are importing the OpenAI library. This is Python, by the way. We're importing OS so that we can talk to the OS because we're going to be using that for getting our API keys and for retrieving files. We're using the docx library so that we can write to Word documents. We're using the threading module because we're going to be multi-threading. I'm calling them modules. I'm in JS mode. I guess these are libraries. Maybe they're modules in Python. I don't know. I've been doing Node.js and Python coding this week. So, but we're threading because we're going to be doing some things in real time. We're going to be multi-threading just so we can have it's mostly a visual thing, and I'll show you when we get there. Same thing, we're importing time specifically as a visual to give us an idea of like how much time has passed so that we know the thing hasn't crashed when we're running it. Same thing with date time. And then the TQDM library is specifically for giving us that visual, that kind of bar progress as we're generating the documents. We're using our Open API key. If you don't have an OpenAI, I can't talk today. Here, you know what? Need my caffeine. If you don't have an OpenAI API key, say that 5 times real fast, then we're not going to cover on how to do that. We've covered that in past videos and past streams on how to do that. So go get your API key. And the reason why we're using this in an environment variable is because it's more secure than hard coding it. Pardon me real quick. Peach Monster. All right. So it retrieves the OpenAI key. And then here's just where we're going through and establishing the format for how this works. Establishing the format, excuse me, for the date and time for not only the output of the visuals, but also it's going to append the date and time in a particular format to the file so that if you do a couple of them, you can actually distinguish those. And then we have to have a risk assessment outline. Now, so I took this risk assessment outline from my risk assessment process that I did in my Hacking Exposed ICS book. But I mean, you can come up with your own risk assessment process. You can ask ChatGPT to come up with a risk assessment process, but this is specifically the outline that I teach in my classes and in my other book. And so we're going to then use GPT. And now this is creating a risk assessment process. It's generic. There's nothing proprietary or specific here. So it's okay if you go to the GPT. I'm going to mention, like I did last week, that when you're using the API, that data doesn't get used for training. And also, your inference, your prompt, gets sent to the GPT LLM, or the OpenAI GPT LLM, and it doesn't get saved. Okay, so it disappears into ether. So it's my opinion that really, because it's encrypted at rest and in transit, and so, or in this case, in transit. And so it's my opinion that using an LLM this way, and we're using the API to communicate, isn't any less secure than whatever documents. If you're a company that stores documents on a SharePoint server, things like that, that's cloud hosted like in Azure or AWS. So you still have to be careful about what sensitive data you're putting in any of those cloud services like AWS and Azure. But so this is the security isn't any different. Now, if you're, that's a different conversation to have when people are like, but they're finding prompt data and the training data, et cetera, et cetera. That's another story, but that's for people using ChatGPT. This isn't ChatGPT. This is the OpenAI large language model, the GPT models. It's not ChatGPT. They save the data in ChatGPT because they're saving your sessions, and you have that little thing, on this side of your screen over here, to where you can go through all your past sessions and revisit them and all that. We're not doing that here. We're just using the API. So anyway, however, later on, whenever we do get into more specific data, I'm going to probably, I think the next session, we're going to take everything we're doing here with the GRC, and then we're going to do it privately with an open source model. So, so that you can do it completely privately. But for now, let's get the structure down, and let's go ahead and do it this way first. So I did want to refactor this real quick. And so we're going to refactor, and well, let me start over. So really what it's doing here, it's taking it's going through one by one, and it's going to divide up these sections, and by section, it's going to flesh out each one of these sections with the following prompts. So we're giving it the system prompt. You're a cybersecurity professional specializing in governance risk and GRC with more than 25 years of experience. I mean, that's all we're giving it there. And I've explained last session why a system prompt is important. Then we're going to give it this specific prompt, which is: you are currently writing a cybersecurity risk assessment policy. Write the narrative, context, and details for the following section, and only this section. And then we're pulling that variable here. That section is, where is it at? Well, I'll show you where we're pulling that from. I think it's probably a function down here. Are we not iterating through that? Hold on. Yeah, there it is. Oh, we're not actually iterating through section by section, I don't think. Anyway, we'll look at that in a minute. Hold on just a second. I thought I had it iterating. I'll have to look at it. I might have made a mistake in my code when I was preparing this, but either way. So either way, it's going to go through here. Yeah, it looks like it's just, so the risk assessment outline. There it is. Okay, there it is. Sorry, I didn't see it. So here's where it's pulling in the risk assessment outline that we did, and it is iterating through each section of that. And for each section, it's going to generate the narrative for each of these. This is very similar to what we did when we generated the risk assessment, or sorry, the cybersecurity policy. Okay, it's a very similar process. So we just have to refactor this real quick. So instead of using the old method with the GPT 3.5, we're actually going to use this. So it's going to be client.chat.completions. So we're going to change that right there. So client.chat.completions. I got to spell right. Okay, correctly. That's what. And then we're going to have to establish this client object class. All right, so we're going to do that up here. And so we're also going to have to adjust how we're pulling this. So we're going to pull, let's make sure we're grabbing these. So we need the regular one, the import OpenAI. That's going to be the one that we're using to pull the environment variable. But we also want this OpenAI import OpenAI, because this is where we establish the client variable. So we're going to pop that in here. All right. So now that's going to read this properly. So now we have the client.chat completions create. And we're going to have to, you know what? We don't need this stop equals 1. We don't need all this. And let's pull this back down a little bit. We're pulling temperature down, less creative and a little more accurate. I'm not sure if we actually need so we have 128,000 tokens. with the new GPT-4 Turbo preview models, whether it's 1106 or the 0125. We could probably pick that up. I'm not going to mess with that for now. Let's go ahead and change this to the proper model. GPT, let's like it heard me. Okay. So make sure we got everything right here. And then we have to modify the output format to the new format, which is going to be, so it's just going to return that. There we go. All right, so now we have another one we have to do. So as we go through here, so this is going to go through each of those and generate that. Actually, I think this one only has one call. Here's where we're using we're actually using the Markdown library to convert the Markdown. I think we're converting this to headings. Yeah, so what we're doing for the Word document is we should be, and I haven't, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't based on the content that is putting in there, but we're converting Markdown because so ChatGPT or the API and anything that's using these models, they can't actually convert directly. I mean, you can. It's a lot of work to get them to convert directly to the format to Word. So it's very simple to get them to speak in Markdown, to output in Markdown. So we're just converting that Markdown to Word headings and things like that. So it's a pretty rudimentary way to do it, but it's what we have for now. So, excuse me. All right. So everything else here this is where it's generating the sections. And, you know, just due to time, I don't want to go through every single little line here. But we can, if you want to have a chat discussion, comments, feel free. We could talk about that in the course. We could talk about that online or in the comments. We could talk more about how each of these go. But by this point in the course, we've already done a lot of these techniques. So it's not a good use of time to go through every single line, every single course, every single stream. All right. So that should be good. Let's go ahead and save this. And what do you say we run it? All right, let me open up I should have already had this done, and I didn't. All right, so see, where are we at? We're going to be in just a second. Bear with me. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. You know what? I'm just going to do it from I'll just do it from here. So I'm going to hit Control J to open up a terminal. Let's bring all that to the top. Yeah, I know. That's why I did it that way. All right, so now we're going to, we got to go specifically into this is chapter 4. Oops, sorry. Let's get this out of the way. Hold on. Oops. All right. So now we're going to go to recipe. What is this? 4.3. Yep, there it is. All right. Me and my nested directories. I know. I'm sorry. All right. So now we're going to run that. Hold on, what was it? Oh, assessment, at-risk assessment. All right, so this is going to take a little bit. So as you can see there. So this one I actually have working a little better, the TQDM, than I had on my last one. I think it's actually it's either gonna, I've been tweaking the TQDM methods. That's the library that gives you this format right here where the elapsed time tells you the time, gives you a little progress bar, how many files or how many sections it's going through. And I always tweak it and mess with it because different files, and there's different things I do to mess with the TQDM library. Yeah, so see right there, it stays on one line. The last one that I did, and I'll have to go through and tweak it, but the last one, last stream, it was doing sequentially line by line. So it wouldn't do like 1 of 16, 2 of 16. It was just, it wasn't keeping on that same line right there. So I messed something up in the last stream, but this is how it should look. It should give you that elapsed time and then give you a progress bar and 1 of 6, 1 of however many, 2 of however many, and it should always stay on the same line. It shouldn't give you a new printout each time it moves to a new file. So so this one is working correctly. I'll have to take this example, go back to the prior script, and make sure it's working properly. So here we are. So we're on live stream here. So we're going to have to wait in real time while this finishes. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, let me know. We'll have a chat going on here. So if we have any LinkedIn viewers, let me know. Just let me know you're there. I see that we have a bunch of viewers, but so if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on YouTube, just let me know you're here watching. I know we got some people from our course, our actual course students over there in Discord land. There we go. We're on 3 of 16. Yeah, this TQDM process is working properly. I like to see that. That's how it's supposed to work. Meanwhile, I'm going to sit here and drink my Monster. Cool. We've got some LinkedIn people saying hi. Thanks for joining us. Can't see who it is on LinkedIn because it doesn't give me your LinkedIn username, and that's fine. Anonymity is not frowned upon in this establishment. Oh, and there's my buddy Isaiah. So Isaiah, you know you want to be on an upcoming Tabletop Tuesday, don't you? I know it. I want you there. You have to be there. We need to get you. And if anybody else wants to wants to be a participant in the Tabletop Tuesdays, let me know. We'll be glad to have you. 4 of 16. This might take a little while. Sorry, but I really wanted everybody to see this real time. So Isaiah is a well-known person in the OT cybersecurity space, and we've worked together quite a bit. We've gone through some adventures together. Five of 16. So I gotta fill up this dead air with my worthless commenting. But yeah, so what I was talking about, if you haven't experienced the auto tabletop Tuesdays, it's basically where we use large language models. So it's very, very appropriate for what we're doing here. I created an application called Auto Tabletop that uses the large language models for automating auto tabletops. So, and we get people on live, and we run live tabletops every Tuesday with it. All right, so somebody asked, how would this approach, for instance, get deployed for a CMMC program using the NIST? And it cut me off, I guess. There's a couple different ways. So like you can actually take all of the different, the large language models, they know about the cybersecurity maturity frameworks, the NIST cybersecurity frameworks of maturity models. I guess as we're talking about is maturity models. And so what you can do is you can, instead of the list I provided, you can actually tell it to generate, and in here, I'll just show you real quick. You can give it a list based on the cybersecurity framework. So if I, for example, let's just do this real quick. Here, let me get my ChatGPT over there for you. All right, let me pull this over while that's working. And so if we wanted to generate a list using the CMMC or the NIST cybersecurity framework, and so we could go in here and just to show an example while that's working, we can say generate a risk assessment process outline that conforms to the NIST cybersecurity. I can't type this morning. Cybersecurity framework. And so we could take this list. Now we could tell it, just give each of the sections without all the narrative. And then we can tell it to generate an outline that way. But also, so I believe someone said, guessing that would involve adjusting the prompt. So yeah, you could also, hello, come down here. All right. So in the prompt here, instead of saying it, by section here, so we could just tell it right here, instead of, generate per section, we could just tell it right here, hey, generate an assessment process that conforms to the NIST cybersecurity standard or whatever maturity framework. However, I found that when you're asking any large language model to generate large documents like a policy or an assessment process or whatever, it won't just give you this long document. It works better when you tell it, give me an outline first. Now, for each section of the outline, flesh out each piece. It does a much better job at doing that. So, and it can even do a better job if you were to take all the output for each section that it generates and you put it into the chat history. You just continue to build upon this, so you get all the content. You can do that but the reason why is because that will actually keep all that into context, so that when you get in the later chapters or the later sections of the document, it's not going to forget things that it did. It's not going to repeat things. With the larger language models like ChatGPT's or OpenAI's GPT-4 1106 and 0125 previews, it's got 128,000 token windows. So you can do that. You can fit all that context in there, so it maintains that. Some of the open source models, they're not that large. Now there is a relatively new model based off of Llama 2 called Giraffe, and it has a 100,000 token limit. So that's one of the things we're going to be working with in the next couple of weeks, is using large token window context language models, open source, so we can do this privately in large context windows. And so we'll be doing that. Llama 3 is expected to come out sometimes this year as well by Meta. And Llama 3 is supposedly going to have the capabilities and token window size of like GPT-4. So we'll see. But we'll do some of that in the future. All right, so we're 12 of 16. So we'll see what that looks like here in a minute. So yeah, Isaiah, I'll reach out to you and get you on one of our Tabletop Tuesday streams. All right, so if you're joining us, if you're a first timer here, what we're doing here, these are, I teach a course called Mastering AI for Cybersecurity, and sometimes I release live streams on LinkedIn and just do this. Just if I think it's content that is broadly valuable, okay, let me rephrase that. I think it's all broadly valuable. However, if it's really pertinent to things going on, to current events, things like that, then I'll release live streams. I'm not really doing this to try to promote anything or anything like that. Sometimes I just want to, if there's something I'm doing that's very beneficial, I'm kind of testing the waters, because last week I accidentally streamed on LinkedIn and they got a huge response. And there were a lot of people that joined and that commented. So so I'm kind of doing it again, and the way that I'm doing it is, so we'll have like specialized content and some private streams for the students. But when we have more generally useful content like this, like using it for GRC and things like that, then I'll just do public streams. So for documentation tasks, we are loving Claude for the 200,000 context window. Yeah. So Claude, it's you've got Claude and you've got OpenAI competing right now for token window sizes, and I find that the 128,000 token window right now is more than enough for anything that I need. And I personally feel like that for for cybersecurity tasks, GPT or the OpenAI stuff does a better job on the inferences. Claude does a better job on like written narratives. So, yeah, I mean, it just depends on kind of what style you like. They do have a bit different. I find that Claude sometimes, I have a harder time getting Claude to do cybersecurity things because I think it has more safety mechanisms in place. By the way, there's a new LLM out based off Llama, fine-tuned for cybersecurity. It's called, I think, Neo White Rabbit, something like that. I'm going to be doing that one. That one's specifically for cybersecurity, and it's uncensored for cybersecurity. So, all right, I'm thinking of a Simpsons episode. Wait a minute, there's a new large language model. All right, so let's go take a look at this. So it generated. So if we go over here, so there's our file. Let me open it up in another window real quick. Bear with me. I have to go and find it. So we have chapter 4, recipe 4-3, and here it is. All right. So here's what it generated. So you can see, oh, hold on. I can't even see what I'm, there we go. Yeah, everything's in my way. All right. So there you have it talking about this and today's digital. It's doing it like a book as opposed to like some. Now you can tell it to adjust the mode or the tone of the document. You can say, hey, this is for executives. Right now, it sounds like it's writing a book. So, but you can see like it literally generated 41 pages, almost 10,000 words. And so it does it by asset categorization. So, and so again, I should tell you that this is just a draft, right? So you're not going to take this and then reformat it and then be like, okay, here's our risk assessment process. Let's give it to management. What this does, like I always say, this basically does the work of, your junior level employees or interns or whatever. And this is going to give you a uniquely generated document. So like, if you're going out and you're looking, number one, if I just want to know what's a risk assessment process supposed to look like, if I want to know, I need a template for my cybersecurity policy, like we just did last week. Then you can use this to generate templates and to give you a first draft, and then you can go through from there. So it saves a lot of the upfront work, right? So there you have it. It gives a long document. So it talks about the MITRE attack matrix for attack framework. So, all right, so that is that. So let's check the comments right here. And we're getting a lot of comments today. Thanks. Cool. Got a compliment on the stream today. Great stream today. Thank you very much. And yeah, so here I'll post. Yeah, so in the comments, in the LinkedIn comments, there is I did find these here. Awesome GPT agents. I've done this. I've seen this before. Here, let me show you. Thanks for posting that, by the way. Here, Frogger. Yeah, this is a really good resource here. Can you see that? Yeah. So by Frogger, awesome GPT agents. It's just a list of a bunch of different. Now, are these? I can't remember. Are these GPTs? Are these the actual GPTs, or is this code? I think these are just GPTs, right? Yeah. So there's a difference between the GPTs and what we're doing with the API. Both have their use cases. So, but these are a lot. Yeah, prompt injection maker. It's just basically a lot of cybersecurity, both blue team and red team related GPTs. Now, when we're talking about the GPTs, we're talking about so we're talking about these. Okay. So chat.openai.com/GPTs. And I think you have to have a paid plus account. So there you go. All right. Let's move on to the next task. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to use the same process to generate a risk report. All right. And let me preface this by saying, again, this is a draft and you don't want to use this, obviously. Now, go back to what I said before. It's no more insecure than using an Azure cloud or something like that. But again, you don't want to store your sensitive data in that either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the general process using the GPT model here and sanitized so we can get a sense of the process and the script. And then next week, we will cover how to do this with a local language model. And by the way, so, this is all the stuff that I'll be talking about at S4 March, the first week of March. So if you're going to be at S4, come check out my talk where I'm talking about a lot more techniques about how we're doing this for actual customers, implementing this in real world environments and platforms, but using the private open source way. So, all right. So the first thing we're going to do is, let me open this up real quick. Let me save these. And we'll need this here in a minute. All right. So I'm just going to take some basic data. Now, this process is, next process, I'm sorry, I got distracted by chat real quick. Hold on. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, just if you want to be on the Tuesday, I already talked to you, Isaiah, but if you want to be in the Tabletop Tuesday IR team for that week, I get 3 people in addition to myself. So there's 4 people each week, each Tuesday, where we run through a tabletop exercise. If you want to be on that, send me a message on LinkedIn or just reach out to me. So this is a highly subjective process. This is a very simplified process right here. What we're doing is I sanitized a bunch of data, and all I did was, let me see if I can do a review. Well, it's best if I just do it this way. So I have a bunch of sanitized data, and it's literally just a general risk scores. So we have, assessment type, criticality rating, business function. So just some information that the large language model might want to know about. There's a lot of different ways to get these, general information in a CSV file, but I'll get more in depth later about how to create this data. So for example, maybe we have a vulnerability assessment report. Maybe we have something from a SIM or a platform. Because right now I'm working with a customer to where we're actually taking the data from their asset management and risk management platform, and we're using some scripts to normalize that data, and then we're taking that data and we're feeding it to a large language model, not out in the cloud, but a local private large language model, so that you can then do things like we're about to do here, which is have it come up with a risk scoring algorithm, have it come up with its assumptions on what the risk is based on the data that we give it, and also so that you can chat with your data. So imagine having a large language model functionality in your asset management tool, in your risk management platform, to where you can ask it questions, cybersecurity related questions, threat intelligence questions, pertinent to the data, specific to your platform. That's what we're building privately. And so we're going to be covering that as we go through here. It's like having a security analyst, virtual security analyst in a box, like an assistant, right? So, all right, so we have this data here, and this is the data that we're going to feed it. And here it's very similar to the last two that we did. So generating the cybersecurity policy, generating a risk assessment process. So here, same things. This is, and in fact, risk report. So risk assessment plan. So that tells you, like, I literally, there we go. I literally just copied that script over to this one, and I gave it a new outline. So we want to have executive summary, introduction. Okay. So all, I think I got the wrong one. Oh, I know. Here you go. Prioritize resist. Okay. Yeah. So this is basically extending the last one. And what we're doing here is, so you're currently writing a cybersecurity assessment report, write the context details for the following section and only this section. But it's not, wait, where's my data? Hold on. I may have to come back to this. There it is. Yeah. So we're opening the system data. I think I might have screwed up my prompt, but we'll fix it here in a minute. So as file. So where are we using that file? Yeah, so system data. Okay, here it is. Yeah, so here we go. Do not write anything that should go in another section of the policy. And let's see, I think I said according to the system data. So based on the context specific to that section, the process that was followed, and the resulting system data provided below. And there's a system data. So what it's going to do, so this is a process that we're using to variabilize prompts. So we're using the API code, and we're providing a prompt, but then we're inputting other data from the script into that prompt in a variabilized way, so that you can have dynamic content. You can extend your prompts this way. So, all right, let's go back to modifying this the way it was. Okay, so I already forgot what it was. Client.chat.completions. Okay. Got to go back to this because I'm lazy. Pop that back in here. Go and grab this, just like we did before. Just doing a bit of refactoring real quick. I believe that's it. Oh yeah, we got to get the right format. so that we are, there we go. All right, let's get rid of this. You know what? Let's be more precise here. Go down to 0.3, and let's change this to GPT 4-0125 preview. Yes, I'm using I'm using my GitHub Copilot. It helps a lot. I like it. All right. There we go there. So we could, all right, so that should be good. I think that's going to be just fine. And then, so again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining every single piece of this because we're basically taking the code that we've started last week and we're repurposing it. So if you look at the stream for last week and you look at the techniques that we're doing now, that should give you clues to like how we can use this for multiple purposes regarding policies and cybersecurity, the GRC and all that good stuff. So now this here, here's our data set. Okay. We can improve the prompt if we wanted to say like, you know, come up with your own method. In fact, let's do that real quick. I think here I say, okay. Assessment report, write the context details based on the content specified in that section, the process that was followed, and the resulting system. Let's see. In the absence of uniform content information about the process followed, provide placeholder. Okay, here's what I want to say. Okay. Finally, let's say based on the data provided, I'm just going to say I'll leave. Oh, do I have to escape that? Oops. No, it should. Oh, because I did. What did I do here? No, I'll just say this. Okay, I will. What did I do? Oh, okay. So I will leave it up to you to decide how to come up with an about appropriate risk scoring algorithm. And I'll say this, explain your scoring method / algorithm. Is that right? Did I spell that right? Okay. I probably didn't. Oh, I can't spell worth a crap. Okay. Algorithm. In the introduction section of the report. All right. So I think that's what we're going to. So we're going to tell it based on the data we're giving it, come up with your own risk scoring method, algorithm, etc. And so one last thing I want to say before we kick this puppy off. You know what? Let's go ahead and kick it off and then I'll talk here in a minute. Okay, we've got everything there. All right. Let's go ahead and kick this off. What? I didn't mean to do that. Come on. All right, so we do need to go to CD recipe 4-3. Yep. Nope. 4-5. My bad. Oops. What's going on here? Oh. Yeesh. All right. Risk report, system data. Got it. So let's kick this off. All right. Yay, I should have my TQDM process working properly here too. Let me check chat real quick. Yep. Oh, there's no Y in algorithm. My bad. Sorry. I told you. Oh, hey, Jamin, what's up, man? Yeah, sorry. I spell worth the crap, man. But that's all right. You know what? It knows. ChatGPT knows that I spell like crap, and it forgives me. All right, so let's go back here real quick. And let's look at this. So this data here, like I have a process right now to where we can, pull this from an API, pull it from a database, right? So it doesn't matter. However you get this data, doesn't matter. You feed this data into your prompt. So it can be just text data like this that you've pulled from a database or a CSV file or whatever, and you've normalized it and just feed it to the LLM. All right, so, okay, here we go. Jamin, we need to get you, or did you already tell me that earlier? We need to get you, oh, it was somebody else, I think, okay. We need to get you on one of our tabletops, since you missed it in Atlanta. All right, so let's go into of 18, so it's gonna be a little bit, but yeah. So there's different ways that we can get the data, and it doesn't matter how you get that data. I have more detailed data. So like, for example, like I think a lot of risk management platforms and asset management platforms, a lot of them have this asset data and they associate it with CVSS scores and vulnerabilities and all of that. So you'd feed that into this script, okay? So now we just have to wait on the results. And then again, you can adjust these prompts however you want for more accuracy. And adjusting prompts is a part of all of this, right? Because as the models change, as they get updated, there's what's called prompt drift. And I talked about this before, to where you have to adjust your prompts because the format changes, the output changes based on how they change the model parameters. Yeah, I agree. It should have built-in spell checking. And this is VS Code. Hey, Perry, good to see you. Thanks for the compliment. Yeah. Today, I'm a game developer. All right. So 4 of 18, we know this takes a while. So, all right. Need more monster. All right. I think that my view counter in my OBS is broken because it says I currently have no viewers. And I think that's not accurate because I'm clearly chatting with viewers. So, all right. We're just waiting on this to go through. It doesn't, I will tell you. So this is right now, again, this is going to GPT because it's sanitized. We'll talk about the private open source method later. But this, it's not fast. It's going to take a few minutes to generate 18 sections, but it's a lot faster creating a first draft than it would be doing this manually, right? I mean, I remember risk reports took me days to finish up. So, and when we move over to doing this with private open source models, it's going to be even slower depending on your hardware. So I think right now, my computer, my desktop is a 3080. So I'm still running on a 3000 series. So it's a NVIDIA RTX 3080. And that's okay. My MacBook is a MacBook Pro M3 Max. And it does pretty good too. But you're limited to, on the private open source models, you're limited to the 7B, the 13B parameter models. And once you get upwards of 13B or higher, like 30, the 30Bs, you got to have enough memory to run it. So I think my MacBook Pro has like 36 gigs of memory, so it can run maybe a 30 billion parameter model. Jamie said, we're all bots. Maybe so. All right, so almost halfway there. We might be able to finish this stream on time. We're ending at the bottom of the hour, or whenever this finishes. I want to show the results, and then we'll end. So it's going pretty good though. Let's see. Yeah, my TQDM process is working properly here too. So it was my TQDM library process. It in the stream last week, it wasn't broken, but it just wasn't working properly. Instead of keeping it all on one line, every time it switched to another document or section there, it dropped down. So you had like this stair step looking. It just created a new line for each section instead of keeping it all on the same line here. So I screwed that up. All right, we're almost done here. Come on. Yeah, you arrived at the end, but you should be able to watch it on recording at LinkedIn. And it's also on YouTube. You can catch the recording. Oh, where did you see that? So what are you saying? You can speed up from 0N to 0.1. What is that? Am I missing something? Is that a variable that you can set somewhere that? Oop. You're thinking you can put this to use immediately? Awesome. Good. Using asynchronous programming, send all requests at once. Oh, that's a good point. And they'll be returned to you at almost the same time. Oh, that's a good point. Thanks for the suggestion, Anton. Yeah, so instead of doing each of the sections sequentially, yeah, so we can take advantage of our threading, and then we can actually multi-thread this, I guess is what you're talking about. So we can multi-thread this, send all the requests at once. Now, that would work fantastic for the current way that we're doing it, and we're not feeding it prior context. However, if you find that you want to feed it prior context and have prior context in each further prompt so it doesn't double work and keeps that in context, then doing parallel requests would not work as well. But I haven't really ever had a problem so much with doing in linear sequentially and not putting it in context. So I'll cover how to put prior context into the prompt. I'll cover that next week, but it's just a matter of taking that output and see how here we have here. We put, so the message is what you're sending the large language model. So if you go role, system, then everything after that is going to be user. Then what you'll do is when you get a response back, then you're going to format that and put that into the message moving forward. So you'll create a message history array or list in Python. You'll create a message history list, and the next one will be role assistant content, and then you'll put that response, and then the next one will be, so you'll go through. So you'll basically just populate this user assistant, like a chat output in here, so that you would just update this, and every single time I send that now, all prior context of everything it was generated gets sent in this, and it keeps it in context. So it's not actually that difficult. We'll cover that in another session. So it is single threaded. Okay, so is that the library? You told me look at, what's the library you told me? Async.io. Is it a Python library? Async.io. It is. Okay. So this is what you're talking about here. Nice. Okay. I didn't know about that. Man. All right. See, this is why I love this community. We all help each other out. And I'm not afraid to admit that I get stuff wrong and I don't know everything, and I make a complete butt of myself on live stream sometimes. That's the fun of watching me. All right. And those of you that have been watching my live streams for a while know that I've done some pretty embarrassing things. I have no shame. So let me rephrase that. It should be embarrassing to me, but it's not, because I have no shame. Look at that. We're almost done. We're at 15 of 18. And it's like, we got 30 seconds left. That's right. We're going to run a little bit over. Just a little bit over. It should be okay. All right, come on. Go. See, it's 11:30. Buzzer ran out. Bam. We lost by 3 points. Oh, we just needed a 3-pointer. All right. Come on. Almost done. Hercules. All right, see, doing embarrassing things. Any other person would be embarrassed with this behavior. More monster. All right, come on. 16. Two more. What I'm really curious to see is the description of how what it shows for its algorithm, for its scoring mechanism. But again, when you get this output, if you're not happy with it, then just adjust your prompt to tell it to give you what you want. And when you are using as the technology improves and you get better models, GPT's ability to understand your prompt sentiment and remember context is getting so much better. I'm really looking forward to trying out Giraffe and Llama 3 when it comes out, because the ability to be able to do current GPT-4 quality inference and output is a game changer for the entire generative AI technology world. Greg says he got Clint live stream. Oh, there we go. PTSD. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's look and see the output. And so there it is. Let me go over to it. And I get first look. Come on. Okay. And here it is. Let's see. Is that big enough? 150%. So, yeah, there we go. Has been meticulously prepared for our organization to evaluate cybersecurity landscape. Okay. Risk scoring out. Here we go. The risk scoring algorithm employed in this assessment is derived from a combination of the criticality rating and the asset. Look at that. It just comes up with it on its own. Each factor was assigned a numerical value on a scale from 1 to 3, with 3 indicating da-da. And here's the actual, look at that. the actual algorithm. The scoring method ensures a balanced consideration of both inherent risks, and I should have probably taken into some weights, right? Each factor was assigned, weighted according to their impact on the overall risk posture. That's nice. So key findings, the assessment revealed. So, and here's the thing. This was just risk scoring data, right? But what if we provided it some vulnerability data with some actual CVEs, and you can include all that as well, and take that into account. In fact, I'm implementing a process like this right now for a customer who is a asset management platform and wants to use LLMs to do this. And so this is the exact method that I'm using. So where you can just literally feed it a private model, you can feed it the risk, whatever data they have, the CVE scores, the CVE numbers, and plus the CVSS scores, and all of that configuration data, and then it can go and make a risk determination. So conclusion. So anyway, I'll provide this sample report, all this. I'll provide all of this in the course details. So those of you that are taking my course, you'll have access to all this code. I'm going to all this code will be available to you. Now, it's available in the book once it comes out too. But and oh, forgot to tell you. So there's a GitHub repository. So whenever the book comes out, there's a free GitHub repository for all the code that's in the book. It'll be through Pact. So whenever I announce the launch of my book, I will launch the GitHub repository. Also, last thing I want to mention, don't go away yet. Don't go away. The last thing that I want to mention while I'm scrolling through this risk assessment report, it kind of doubled up on. See, it listed the scoring algorithm again, right? If you provided the prior context, it wouldn't need to do that. Let's just see something real quick. Attack surface ratings. Man, this is fantastic. Where's the actual... So you can also have it generate charts and graphs and stuff like that. It's a total different model. But if you use GPT Vision, or there's other open source vision models, you can have it take that data and generate charts and graphs and all kind of pretty graphics and all of that. So criticality rating, what is it? I want to see it's doubling up on some of this, but yeah. And this has to do with the prompt too, right? I mean, I was kind of lazy on the prompt, but it's doing a lot of double work here. But what I want to see is, I want to see it list the assets. See, it's doing a lot of database. Oh, here we go. Here's the system detail right here. So the database server. Now, what I don't know if it did. Yeah, you can just tell it, hey, don't repeat yourself. But it doesn't know if it's repeating itself unless you provided that prior context. What I want to know if it's providing a list of, here's that. Look at this. I mean, aggregate finding, school analysis. Here we go. This would be something you'd have to put into a CSV file. So, it's not perfect, but it's a really good start. Like 100 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean. So it's not what I would like to see though, too, is like, yeah. So it is providing in a bad format, but it's kind of providing an asset. No, it's not. All right. So it needs some work, right? You can improve the prompt, and you can improve the data output. So it definitely needs some work, but however, so let me tell you this, right? When we talk about open source models and private models, right? And there's this one for cybersecurity. So right now I have an open source project, a community project that I'll be announcing at S4. And we are working on creating data sets to fine tune a large language model that is specific to OT cybersecurity, ICS and OT cybersecurity, that will have knowledge of all the standards and processes. We'll put. So anyway, but by the way, if you want to see, ChatGPT itself, but also the API, it can write all the different types of PLC logic code and stuff like that. So it's amazing what it can do. And so we're fine tuning the model so that it is better tasked for OT cybersecurity, and also we're going to work on getting at least 100K, because that's part of what you can do when you fine tune these models. You can get a 100K token size window or plus, right? So we're going to build a large language model that is private, open source, specific to OT cybersecurity with a large context window. And we're also going to provide the scripts on how to create your own synthetic data for that, sanitized and all that. So look for that at S4. We'll be announcing that community project. It'll be all open source, all free, and we want people to contribute to it, to branch off of it and everything. So we'll provide that as well. And I'm going to provide an instructional pretty soon, a video on actually how to create fine-tune synthetic data and how to create data and fine-tune models with that data. So look forward to that coming up soon. Other than that, sorry, we ran almost 10 minutes over. My bad, but you know what? It's the processing speed of the large language model. So everybody, thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me live. You're watching this on recording. Thanks for watching on replay. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody. Take care.